Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move this motion that, aware that Kenya's economy is largely driven by the informal sector, spearheaded by entrepreneurs presenting themselves in form of small and micro enterprise, concerned that the informal sector, popularly known as the Juakali, has different segments and categories spread out in value chains ranging from agriculture, trade, manufacturing, apparels, IT, transport, the creative economy, education, among others, recognizing that there is need to improve coordination of SMEs through development of an all-inclusive, well-structured delivery platform and encompasses multiple solutions and all key stakeholders, noting that this sector has a potential to create employment opportunities to over 80% of Kenyans' working population, further noting that these SMEs have the capacity to leapfrog our nation to middle income economy as witnessed in other economies around the world, recalling that strong and consistent commitment and political goodwill can deliver the needed growth for the realization of steady and sustainable economic growth, concerned that previous to this sector has merely been a knee-jerk reaction in form of skewed funding and tokenism, cognizant that there exists no unified national policy or legislation in support of the sector, and SMEs across the entire value chain. Now, therefore, this House resolves that the national government develops a unified national policy on small and micro enterprise SMEs, detailing recognition, funding, mentoring, expansion, restructuring, and marketing of the SMEs products. Madam Speaker, when you look at our country today, since 1989, this country has been talking about SMEs. We have seen the growth of SMEs, Madam Speaker. We are talking about approximately 7.4 million SMEs who hold the key to job creation, productivity. The commitment of any government is to ensure you foster growth by ensuring you have key strategies. But the challenge is the dichotomous policy perception of SMEs has contributed also to the ineffective of these policies. And Madam Speaker, there is need to support the different recommendations that we've had proposed by different organizations that support SMEs. That it's important to have a coherent, effective, and efficient national policy that will foster contribution to sustainable development and growth. Madam Speaker, as we speak today, the aftermath of COVID-19 and the crisis that hit this country, and then having a government that decided at one point, Madam Speaker, that SMEs across the country just went through what they have never gone through. That, Madam Speaker, it reached a point where we decided this institution will decide the SMEs have brought in substandard goods, and therefore the goods are going to be held by customs, and therefore at any given point, everyone tried to look for their goods, Madam Speaker. In the end, we decided it has to be banned. It was very devastating from many SMEs in this country. And this was happening just because we don't have a national policy that is coherent to different sectors, that is able to bring and ensure there's a conducive environment for an SME to do their jobs or to ensure their businesses are running. Yet we know very well each business, Madam Speaker, and I'll give an example today. In Kikomba Market, Madam Speaker, that takes care of millions of Kenyans, we have a business chain that starts with the person who brings in the mutumba. The person who has imported in the mutumba will come, and there's a person who will come and open the bale. We will have young people who will now be able to sort out. We will have those who will buy and say, this is for camera. We will have those who now will say, will be ironing. All of them are making, you've created jobs for different cadre. That there's a person who just irons. There's another one who just buys what is called camera. There's the one who comes and picks what is remaining. There's a commission that you give for everyone you see within the street selling one or two things. And therefore, Madam Speaker, when you come and close that business, suddenly, then you leave millions wondering, where are they going to get their bread? And so when we speak of a government that we want to see, and I want to thank, I know we now have a CS who will be in charge of SMEs. We also have our CS who we really look up to, the Ministry of Trade, and the minister who will be also in SMEs and cooperatives, and we also have the Minister of Trade. Those two ministers, or those two CSs, are going to ensure that you facilitate a supporting system that adapts a digital way of how things can be done, and so you open up even in markets and have a digital technology that even traders can use, small SMEs can use. Today I see in the streets of Nairobi, we have everyone. But if it was structured well, then you will find people will continue with their businesses, those who have big shops. The SMEs who are within the streets can also sell, but in the same time, you have a chain that appreciates everyone must use that space. Madam Speaker, if we have functional markets, then the digital goods and services can do very well in this country. And therefore, as I bring in this motion, I bring in this motion at a time I remember in the 12th Parliament, we really talked about how SMEs were being mistreated. That today, and I want to thank the President, that indeed, today, those SMEs will be able to go back and start trade. Will be able to bring a container where they are sharing cost, and they are able to clear their goods from Mombasa, than the way it had reached a point, my goods are picked from Mombasa and are delivered in Naivasha, and then I will leave Naivasha and again come and pay in Nairobi for it to arrive. Honestly, I mean, we are a very interesting country. We are an interesting country where you find someone making millions, billions at the port. So we have others, small, who have decided, Madam Speaker, at Mombasa, so the container, the wagon comes in with $560, and then this wagon is carrying 4 containers. It will be taken to somebody's yard where I'm supposed to receive it, and I'm supposed to pay per day $400. And I want to tell you, Madam Speaker, if this government is not going to change all this that we saw, I think we will be doing an big injustice to our SMEs who right now are looking for resources, and I'm hoping the Hustler Fund and any other fund, the Economic Stimulus Fund, can come out for these traders to use this money to revive business, revive opportunities of jobs, bring back our young people to start trading, and also within the creative jobs that they had done. Madam Speaker, a good government must enhance participation in international and global trade by providing a conducive environment and regulatory framework that enables everyone, be it if I am selling a plastic container, should be with standards, yes, but then I'm able to trade. Be it if I'm trading my tomatoes, be it if I'm trading my avocados, be it if I'm trading my fruits, my pixies, which are doing very well right now in Makueni. Madam Speaker, if there's anything that we can do to revive our economy, is to build the SMEs that we have. If there's anything we have to see for us to pay our debt, is to create a conducive environment for SMEs so that they can flourish. If there's anything we can do to sit down and listen to the stories and testimonies of how, for us, we started small trades during Kibaki's time. And I will tell you, Madam Speaker, during Kibaki's time, many of these traders you've seen go down. That is the time they started their trade. They came into an administration that felt so angered. And I'm sorry to say this, because I was part of this administration of Jubilee. But there's nothing as painful when you get into jealousness of business, where the big shots will feel threatened with small SMEs who are coming up. There's nothing sad as that. And that is why we went into conflict of trade and we killed completely what Kibaki had revived in this country. It was very sad to see our businessman Humphrey being treated the way he was treated just because of competition of business. And we killed each other with our own KRA, and I'm hoping when I'm talking of our national policy and a conducive environment, I am speaking also to KRA that you must create a conducive environment for you to also receive revenue. That if you indeed give every person in Kenya an opportunity, today, Madam Speaker, we spend 5 billion a day as a country. That is what we spend. But then we end up in a deficit of 3 billion. So in a day, Kenya spends 8 billion. It means we can be able to revive businesses. You will collect beyond 9 billion and be able to ensure that every person is able to have a living, not just in Nairobi, but in every place in this country. Madam Speaker, if we enable SMEs by reducing barriers to entry and exit, we support competition and provide incentives and innovation, then I tell you, we shall be able to move this country to the next level. As I conclude, Madam Speaker, it is important to facilitate access to resource where needed and conducive, decent work for self-employed. When we look at our markets, when we look at even where the small traders are, it is important to have a conducive environment. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I want to invite the Honorable Amos Mwago from Starehe constituency, where all SMEs do business, to second this motion.
Honorable members, thank you very much, Honorable Member for Dagoretti. Honorable members, before seconding of this motion by the Honorable Mwago, I would like to allow the Honorable Nelson Koech to table a report on the Committee on Defense. So, Honorable Koech.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Wednesday, November 9th, 2022, the afternoon sitting. The report on the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations on its consideration of the request by the National Executive regarding deployment of the Kenya Defense Forces to the East African Community Regional Force, Democratic Republic of Congo.
The Honorable Nelson Koech, now you may give the notice of motion for the report that you just tabled.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion that, taking into consideration the recommendations of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations, in its report on the request by the National Executive regarding the deployment of the Kenya Defense Forces to the East African Community Regional Force to the Democratic Republic of Congo, laid on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 9th November 2022, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 240, Subarticle 8, Subarticle A of the Constitution, and Section 18C and Section 32(2)A of the Kenyan Defense Forces Act 2012 in this House, approves the deployment of Kenya Defense Forces to the East Africa Community Regional Force to the Democratic Republic of Congo for peacekeeping operations.
Honorable members, we may now go back to the motion as moved by the member for Dagoretti. Honorable Mwago, you may now second the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.